fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go!
Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.
It all comes down to this: 3 weeks of madness, mayhem, and may the best come out on top. Formula 3 sanctioned by Motorsport Australia, virtually of course, on iRacing. Welcome to Suzuka. It hosts the third and final round of Motorsport Australia's 2022 iRacing Asia Pacific single-seater eSports qualifying series. All coverage today provided by SimSpeed TV. The lovely Reese Gardner is alongside me. Reese, I hope you've been well. You've joined me for all 3 weeks of the action. You looking forward to this one?
Absolutely, I am. We've gone away from Australia and we're going to Japan. We're going to be racing at the brilliant Suzuka circuit tonight for the final round of this qualifier series, deciding the top 4 Australians who will go on later on in the year. It's been a fantastic championship so far. Plenty of drama, plenty of great racing as well. Suzuka is an excellent arena for this final round of the series.
It's a magnificent layout. It's a figure-of-8 circuit as well, and it's one that we don't encounter often in the world of motorsport. Suzuka, 5.8 kilometers in length, 3.6 miles, depending on your units of choice. There is the circuit that crosses over and under each other, 18 corners around a twisty ride. Hold on to that steering wheel tightly, Reese, because this track has everything. I'd say the only thing it's missing is a roller coaster loop.
Yeah, I'd say so too. Suzuka is very well known in the world of motorsport for being a circuit that challenges drivers incessantly. I mean, you look at the first sector there through the S-curves, there's no opportunity to rest through there. Degner curve as well, split into those 2 very hard corners. There's big curbs on all sides through there that will definitely send you a cropper in these stiff single-seater race cars. But you do have some passing opportunities around here going into the first turn, obviously, down that long start-finish straight. And then on the way out of 130R into the Casio Triangle, if you can pick up a slipstream coming out of Spoon Corner, you'll definitely stand a chance of getting by your rivals.
And that run to turn 1 is only 200 meters, so if you don't nail qualifying, you don't have many opportunities to make up positions. You'll have to stick to those overtaking spots that Reese Gardner just alluded to. 40 meters of elevation change around here. It's one magnificent circuit. We love it. Hey, I talked about a theme park. There's a Ferris wheel in the background there, Reese. How about that? We talked about this track being a roller coaster. It's also surrounded by a Ferris wheel. We'll also be using this format tonight, the same one we've had the last 3 weeks. A 40-minute race, starting fuel restricted to approximately 16 laps. So it's going to be similar strategy, Reese. In the 40-minute race, we're expecting those pit stops to come around the 30-minute mark with 10 minutes to go.
Indeed. We thought in the first couple rounds of the series at Phillip Island and Bathurst that more drivers would try a bit of an earlier pit strategy to try and undercut drivers a little bit later on in the race, but it seems that the dominant strategy is to just run the fuel tank dry, take no tires in the pit stop, and run it out to the end. It'll be interesting, though, to see whether or not drivers decide to pit, a couple of laps early or thereabouts, because this track is considered a bit difficult to pass on with so many long flowing bends.
But the good news is that those 4 in the top 4 positions in the championship might not have to make too many passes they've got a comfortable advantage on the rest. Those top 4 will head to the international finals. We'll talk about that a little later on. Marcelo Rivera, though, is sitting in 5th. I had a chat to him before the race. He is going full beams, full speed, full foot to the floor to try and win this race and try and make up as many points as possible. Your race winners from the first couple of rounds, Liam Reston, he wins he's currently leading the championship. Benjamin Roberts, who took victory at Bathurst, currently sitting in 2nd place. Reese, of course, the championship, we don't only pay out points for the top 10 positions, we've also got bonus points for fastest lap. That's 1 point. And if you score 0 incident points, that's 2 extra championship points. That could be critical come the end of the day in an hour's time.
That it could, and Suzuka, with it being an old school circuit, plenty of grass and gravel around this place and not much in the way of tarmac runoffs, very easy to pick up the old off-track 1X, which is part of iRacing's incident detection system. If you put a wheel outside the bounds of the racetrack, you get an incident point, and that will be those 2 points eliminated from your potential tally.
And we're almost in qualifying. We're just in the closing stages of practice at Suzuka. What a magnificent circuit here, brought to life in iRacing. As we visit every circuit in iRacing, they're all laser scanned. They're all made at the best possible way, and in the best possible way, I should say, by the iRacing staff. They do a tremendous job. This looks exactly like the real thing, Reese. This is absolutely insane. iRacing is by far the best looking sim.
Yeah, indeed, especially with its lighting effects. I think iRacing does lighting better than most racing games on the market today, and racing sims as well, for that matter. And the track is, of course, laser scanned, so it's millimeter perfect as it was at the time it was scanned. And as far as I know, Suzuka hasn't undergone much resurfacing in the past few years, so I'd say it's still pretty accurate. But corner radii, positioning of curbs, etc., all that sort of stuff, your lines of sight around the racetrack, all pretty much exactly what a driver would see in the real world. And those sight lines will be particularly important for this turn in to 130R. It's a flat out corner in these Formula 3 cars. You barely lift off the throttle at all through that section. You might want to lift off if you're trying to make a pass though, and being squeezed side by side. But car number 9, Marcelo Rivera, out of the Casio Triangle and onto the main straight here, coming up to a very challenging sequence of corners to open this lap. And have a look at that. He's just set the fastest time in the practice session, 1 minute 50.89. That gives him 200ths of a second over Benjamin Roberts.
And that's where we're expecting pole position to sit, in that 1 minute 50 range. So these are very quick times at the moment. The one interesting part that we'll head into qualifying in a few minutes' time is that the tyres take a lot of laps to warm up. So we're expecting the quickest lap times to come between laps 3 and 5 in the stint. So what you might see is 2 or 3 warm-up laps before those quick times come in. Look out for that in our 15-minute qualifying session coming on a little later on. Liam Reston leading the championship. Didn't score a podium last round, ended up finishing 4th, which was a very good result by him, despite starting well down the order, Reese. He can't afford that, though, today, because any DNF, he could be caught within the clutches of maybe perhaps Marcelo Rivera or Wayne Burke, who could score some good points later on. They sit within mathematical contention of busting Liam Reston out of a top 4 position.
Well, looks like lap time's not going to be an issue for Liam. He's just gone to the top of the practice session as well. And discussing with our director, Jay Kennedy, before the race, apparently the top 11 drivers in points are in contention for a potential top 4. But of course, drivers lower down in the top 10, like Bo Albert, will certainly need a miracle if they want to get into that top 4. They'll have to win the race and rely on half the field DNFing pretty much. And have a look at that on the right-hand side of your screen. We've got live points here for the final round. So we'll try our best here to keep you all updated on where drivers sit in the point standings as the race goes on.
Now, was that a mistake there for Liam Reston through the Technicurve? Because that could be a talking point today. I remember back when Formula 1 came back here to Suzuka in 2009. They hadn't raced here since 2006. Of course, the Japanese Grand Prix went over to the Fuji Speedway. Had some great races over there for a couple of years. And I remember in qualifying, we had a lot of red flags over at that Technicurve. So many drivers went off, including our very own Aussie, Mark Webber, who was in the Red Bull at the time. They ended up winning this race with Sebastian Vettel. So that cost Mark Webber a lot of championship points.
Yeah, it did indeed. That Degner corner is definitely one of the turns that these drivers are going to have to be looking out for here. As we ride on board with Benjamin Roberts into the first couple of turns, it's flat out on at the turn end for turn 1. You've got to get on the brakes part way through it to slow down for turn 2. And then it's all about controlling the speed here through the S's. You don't want to take too much out of the front tyres through here. It's very easy to scrub, especially through that right-hander there. It's a bit off camber and it drops off as well. And you've got to rely on a good exit from it to get a good run up to Degner. Let's see what it looks like on board here. I mean, it's just a matter of millimeters, isn't it? You know, you take that initial turn and the curve, yeah, especially the curve on the exit. You don't want to go too far beyond it. The AstroTurf really compromising Benjamin Roberts' exit there. So look out for that in the race too.
And do we call it Kobayashi corner, Reese? The hairpin? That's what I want to call it.
I think so.
It's up there on Wikipedia, so it must be true that it's called Kobayashi corner. So turn 10, the hairpin, where Kamui Kobayashi back in 2010 pulled off a series of great moves and great passes. Now this is a big talking point, is spoon curve. Pretty much shaped like a spoon. And if you beach the car on the curbs there, the drivers have said it can really end your race. So the red-white curbs are safe, but run any wider and you'll need to completely take the car off the racetrack to avoid damage. Ironically, though, too.
Yeah, indeed. It's a very difficult corner to get right. It's the bane of many a sim racer's existence, myself included. I can't count the number of times I've had to reset and try again because I've just gotten the entry to spoon slightly wrong. And the pit entry here at Suzuka as well. The drivers are going to have to make a pit stop here in this race. It's a very narrow pit entry and it comes off the inside of the last corner. It's really difficult to get right. If you get it wrong, your car will be sprawled across pit entry, and that's going to be a big danger for drivers trying to come in behind you.
Yeah, so let's talk strategy in those pit stops, and we'll cover it a few times tonight as we watch the number 12 here. And that is the driver of Kane Thornhill, who's racing. He's up on picture as well. Driving very smooth. Look at that. That's a big part, Reese. Before we talk about strategy, just one thing is how smooth you have to be in sim racing. You see all these cool videos of drivers one-handing through corners, working the wheel, just smooth. One angle. See, one motion on the wheel, and he's had a couple of stabs at it there, and that's not going to be quick for lap time. So the quickest drivers, really, they don't do much work.
Yeah, and I know that from my personal experience behind the wheel as well. In a lot of sims, you have to drive at what you feel like is about 80 to 90% of your true pace, and that is when you are quickest. So definitely try to take as little out of the car as possible through these long, sweeping corners, and it'll pay dividends in terms of lap time.
So strategy, as we talked about, 28 to 30 minutes into the race, we're expecting those pit stops to occur. You might see some drivers. I remember Tom Katsadonis last week was able to stay out a lap longer. So with some fuel saving, you might be able to stay out just a lap longer, possibly. But we are expecting all drivers to enter the lane, take about 10 litres of fuel. That'll get them to the checkered flag. But the issue is, will they take tyres? They haven't really taken tyres all series race. That's been the no-go zone for strategy. And Suzuka has the worst tyre warm-up of all three circuits, I reckon. Maybe on par with Phillip Island for round one. So I don't think we're going to see any drivers take tyres in those pit stops.
Yeah, I was going to draw that comparison myself, actually. Phillip Island, a pretty similar circuit to Suzuka if you consider the kind of corners it has. You know, these gentle elevation changes, and the lap is full of long sweepers and a couple of flat-out corners to boot. But Suzuka has plenty more corners. It's also a lot longer than Phillip Island. It was 4.5 Ks in length for Phillip Island. Suzuka is 5.81 kilometers long. So there's an awful lot more racetrack packed into this very narrow section of the Japanese countryside, and the drivers are going to be putting the tyres through a lot of work, especially in Sector 1. But as you said, tyres haven't been an issue in these past couple of rounds, so we'll have to wait and see what the drivers do. I too am expecting no tyres.
And no Chris Mitchell tonight. He won't be racing. Neither will Griffin Gardner. So those two will be the only drivers missing from the grid. We'll have 18 drivers out there. Chris Mitchell has sim rig issues, so had to pull out of this race. Unable to get the rig going. A real world issue in the virtual world. That car will not go and take place during the race. Is that green cone on an angle, Reese, there? How does that work?
Bit.
How does that work? Anti-gravity cone.
Yeah, it seems that way. Oh, thanks, Jay, for zooming in on it for us.
Jay Kennedy zooming in for us in production right there. Get the focus right, Jay. Now that has to be. Now what's going on? Is that like an optical illusion? Is the tarmac angled?
It could have been knocked loose by a car on their way out of the pits, potentially. The cones are collidable in iRacing, and plenty of times you'll see drivers knocking cones sky high, depending on where they're placed around the circuit, as they're trying to widen the entries and exits to these corners. So I think that might be what have happened there.
Good to see that, man. Josh Muggleton in practice put in a magnificent 0 practice laps, according to the rumors. He's out of contention for the championship for a top 4 position. There is your order. How about that? Top 4 in the championship sitting in your top 6 positions. It's up to Dan Yeaman and Marcelo Rivera to try and upset and spoil the party, Reese. Top 6, very critical. Bo Albert again here to have some fun this Monday night. And Rob Bowden, Sebastian Flock, Wayne Burke, they round out the top 10. That's a big field spread for practice. Almost 2 seconds between your top 17.
Yeah, indeed. Stephen Bull and Kane Thornhill very close, separated by a mere 100th. Meanwhile, Angus Cook and Hayden Veld over a second behind. And then we got, of course, Muggleton, McLeod, and Lear, with Kurt Stenberg not setting a time in practice. He has joined a bit last minute, as Stenny tends to do, but we've seen him definitely get on the pace very quickly. Hasn't quite translated into results, though. Stenny's been involved in a few incidents, especially at Bathurst, through no fault of his own. But the drivers are out on track in qualifying at the moment, leading the charge coming into, let's call it the Kobayashi hairpin.
Let's do it.
Yeah, indeed. Angus Cook on his way out for Summit Sim Sports, and on the way down to Spoon. Looks like a bit of jockeying for track position here on the outlap, and that's crucial because Suzuka, with its 2 long straights, it's very important to get a good slipstream around here.
Well, Benjamin Roberts is behind him, and he is a championship rival of Liam Reston, who is Angus Cook's teammate for Summit Sim Sports. So there is Liam Reston well down the pack, so that hasn't worked out for the man from Benora Point, New South Wales. And they said they were going to work together. They had some talking, they had a good chat, and they had some good talking points. They mentioned to me about how they'll try and work together to give Liam a championship victory. They don't just want a top 4, they want the publicity of winning this series as they begin their first qualifying run.
Well, Benjamin Roberts very close here behind Angus Cook as they make their way out of the final corner, and you'll see drivers stick to the inside as much as possible through the final corner, because that shortens the run to the finish line. I remember Sebastian Vettel actually took pole in one Japanese Grand Prix just by sticking to the inside, while his closest rival Jenson Button did not. I think that was in 2010 potentially, or 2011. I could be wrong on that, but here we go. This is where the aero push really comes into effect in these downforce producing machines. Benjamin Roberts might have some trouble getting his tyres up to temperature, but remember, tyres take a long time to heat up in these cars, Johnny. They're going to be running some long runs here.
Yeah, essentially, these laps aren't meaningless because they can be good banker laps, but those quick times are going to come in between laps 3 and 5. So this is lap 2 of the stint, of course, out lap, and then your second lap. And it's all about trying to get the toe here for Benjamin Roberts. I would not want to make a move too early on Angus Cook, who leads the train away. Right behind them, that is the number 06 of Bo Albert. Welcome back to Bo Albert. He's got Stephen Bull near him on the circuit as well. Both of those two were out last round. They did not race at Bathurst. They were both unwell, but they're feeling better and back out there on the racetrack. Funny news about Bo Albert, he completed 103 rallycross races in the past 7 days, so he's certainly feeling well.
Wow.
But he only won, Reese, 102 of them. Why did he not win that only one? Well, he had an accident and an unforced error. So you can't always be perfect in life.
No, certainly not. But I know that Bo holds himself to very high standards, so he'll certainly be kicking himself about that one single loss. But Bo does love his rallycross, doesn't he?
He certainly does. He raced in the World Championship for a couple of seasons. I don't actually know what's happening with that World Championship. I don't think it exists anymore, Reese. I think it's over and done with. It's whatever it's called now, some truck series. And so the first times come in. Benjamin Roberts at 52.1. We're expecting quicker times. Bo Albert trumps that by a country mile. Only driver in the 51s. So 1 minute 51.873. We're still waiting for some of your quick runners to cross the line. Liam Reston is one of them. 3 purple sectors for Reston. Marcelo Rivera climbs to pole position. That is a very quick lap time by Marcelo Rivera, despite hotter conditions than practice. A 1 minute 51.4. Slipstream certainly would have helped with that one. Liam Reston has no toe on his run, but crosses the line, and Liam Reston to a 1 minute 51.2 without a slipstream.
That's fantastic there from Liam Reston. Imagine what he could do if he had some draft help from Angus Cook, and you see that a cloud has come over the circuit, driver spinning at turn 1 there. There's going to be less UV light hitting the racetrack in sim through that section. Should cool down the track ever so slightly, which will definitely help Liam Reston go even faster.
Mitch McLeod also returning here to have some fun. Mitch McLeod, he's cleaned up some good points. He's a driver, Reese, we always talk about. That guy, back a decade ago, was one of the best sim racers, not just in Australia, but in the world. He was one of the first pioneers of iRacing, Mitch McLeod. And he's out there to have a bit of fun these days, not taking it too seriously. I think that's the best thing for Mitch McLeod. Oh, no. That's an accident in qualifying. Now, as much as we might giggle about an accident in qualifying like that, the worst part about it is these are 3 to 5 lap runs. He's got to get back out there. He might miss out on a second run entirely.
Yeah, he might indeed. It's such a long lap here at Suzuka. This incident was for Benjamin Roberts. 2nd place in the championship. Spin in the middle of Spoon. I don't know how that happened. Looks like Albert made contact with him and he got sprawled across the racing line. Through comes McLeod and oh dear.
So we missed Bo Albert because he, in iRacing, you can press an escape button and essentially reset the car. But he was involved. There is Bo Albert now coming out of the pits. That's an onboard view. Terminal damage for the Altus eSports driver. Lives in the Altus eSports gaming house as well. And surely has a lot of support around him after that accident. I think he'll be okay. It is the virtual world.
No injuries in sim racing, unless, of course, you run a direct drive wheel at max torque and snap your wrists like an idiot. Tom Katsadonis, meanwhile, I think you just saw that, Johnny. He's gone to provisional pole down to a 151.0.
Well, I didn't see that. I was more intrigued by Liam Reston's racing pit stop. So he's gone into the pits early on that stint. So Liam Reston's decided to box early. And I think because he's timing this session perfectly, to where he'll cross the checkered flag with this is 8 minutes to go. If this makes sense, he should cross the checkered flag with the quickest rubber. If everybody else pits a lap later, they won't have the quickest rubber by the time that time ticks down. But yes, Tom Katsadonis to provisional pole for the moment. But that's a very interesting strategy by Liam Reston. He's offset himself from the rest of the field. And I think he's in a very good position right now to have the quickest car at the checkered flag and the lightest car.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to back up that current P2 time and have those nice hot tires when it counts right at the end of the session. And, of course, unlikely that he would have taken fuel in that quick pit stop. Oh, dear, another spin there down at Spoon Corner. Looks like, Muggleton, unfortunately. But you go through the laps here in this session, and you'll be running the fuel tank out. Remember, these drivers start their qualifying runs on the fuel load that they'll be carrying into the race, so the more fuel you can burn off, the better.
That's very true. Of course, fixed setup, like you said. So that's how it works in iRacing, is that every time you press the escape button, it will reset. Just the way the cookie crumbles with Vartanian, a 1 minute 50.7. These times are dropping faster than we expected right now. We were expecting pole in the...
Yeah, we were. We were expecting pole to be a reasonably quick time, but 150.7 for Vartanian, and we still have 6.5 minutes of the session to go. That's going to be interesting to see. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Remember, the top time from practice was a 1 minute 50.489 from Liam Reston, so there's still a bit more time to take out of it here.
That's a good point. So a lot of time to go. And 6 minutes to go. We love to get excited, Reese. I'm getting ahead of myself with these quick times. But, yeah, it's that Liam Reston strategy, which I'm very intrigued by.
Yeah,
purple
me too.
Purple sector for Katsadonis. He just took provisional pole. He was knocked off by Vartanian. And he could be on the run here for another quick time. Is this Katsunonis? It is for Full Send Racing. He's going to send it through Spoon Curve. And he's going to go right into here. Look at the rear end working. A bit of oversteer on the rear, but he's managed to keep the car planted to the tarmac, and he's got a nice tow ahead there. That's the number 77 driver of Mario Vartanian, who could help him here with a pole position time. These two are in competition with each other.
A little bit too close maybe for Katsunonis, but out of the way drops Mario Vartanian, and I think that actually worked out perfectly for Katsunonis. Albert on a warm-up lap, he's going to let them go as well. We'll see what happens here for Katsunonis as Daniel Yeaman goes into 5th place, stick all the way to the inside, shorten the run to the line, and Katsunonis goes 1 minute 50.985, so not a big improvement there, unfortunately. And, well, yeah, again, we'll have to wait and see what he can do here in these final minutes. What I got to say, though, is you mentioned the rear end dancing around into Spoon. That might actually work to the benefit of the drivers here, that fixed setup, because Suzuka is a track that really benefits a setup, with a lot of front end bite.
Yeah, and it's a good point too, because chatting to one of the drivers, they said that with this setup, as Liam Reston will cross the line, what lap time will this be for Reston? This will be his first run here, because the last one was the out lap after the pit stop. But they said that they got the rear tires at the end of the race can literally wear down to 40% of the original grip that you start with. So it's despite the fact there's so many long sweeping corners and not many traction zones, the rears also take a beating. This circuit's very technical. It once was a test track race. Of course, when this circuit first started out over half a century ago, it was built as a test venue.
Yeah, by Honda, no less. And there's an interesting story behind that as Benjamin Roberts comes across the line. Is this going to be an improvement for him? 151.1 there for Roberts, and that's a big improvement. Goes up from 13th to 4th. The circuit was built on some rice fields in the area, and Soichiro Honda, the CEO of the Honda car company at the time, went up to all these rice farmers and said, hey, look, we're building a test track. Can you sell us your farmland? And they were all paid off once they saw the plans, and they were relocated. Honda, of course, a massive company and able to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, good to see Honda. Even back in the sport in Formula One, it's a shame they pulled out most recently, despite the fact they're still supporting Red Bull powertrains with their power units. I don't know what you can officially brand those as. Red Bull, of course, is what they're branded as. Liam Reston, couple of purple sectors for him. Mario Vartanian, last lap, a 1 minute 50.8, wasn't able to improve on his 50.7. Liam Reston now, he could improve. Another personal best. The 6 sectors we're using here at Suzuka, a little different to the real world. He'll cross the line, a 1 minute 50.8, but we're expecting that quick lap time to come in now. That'll promote Reston to your front row, but he'll have a couple more runs at it, Reese, and I think he's in prime position at the moment to take pole position.
Yeah, well, he crossed the line with 2.5 minutes to go. That means that when he crosses the line next, he will be able to get one more lap in, because if you start a lap before the timer hits 0, you will be allowed to complete that lap. Let's take a look at Ashley Lear, meanwhile, as he makes his way into Spoon. Lear currently sitting 16th out of the 18 drivers we've got in this session. Not taking much out of the exit of Spoon there. I think he's on a bit of a warm-up lap himself at the moment, and Lear was... Lear set a time that was probably not to his standards in practice. Actually, the slowest time in the session, 52.2, but he's definitely worked out himself pretty nicely here in qualifying so far, ahead of Kurt Stenberg and Sebastian Flock. Let's see what he can do.
Ashley Lear, one of the oldest drivers in the field at 32 years of age. Where does that 1 minute 51.9 set him? Only good enough for P16. I don't think he improved the position, if I'm not mistaken, on that one. Wayne Burke, he's also in contention for a top 4 position. This is an important run to the line. You'll squeeze one more lap after this. Liam Burke across the line, 1 minute 51.5. Not good enough to improve his time. This man, though, Liam Reston, is improving once more. It's all down to this final sector And the final braking zone at the Casio Triangle. He'll also squeeze in one extra run as he'll cross the line one more time. A 1 minute 50.735 to beat for pole position. 736, I should say. A 1 minute 50.9. That's interesting. Liam Reston, despite offsetting his strategy, is still yet to knock off Mario Vartanian, and he's not going to have a toe race on this final run.
Oh, have a look at how much curb Benjamin Roberts was taking out through Spoo. Meanwhile, and he's messed up a little bit. He's not going to be able to get another lap in here once he crosses the line, so I think that is going to be his qualifying done for the time being. He sits P5, and he's in danger a little bit here from getting passed by the likes of Dan Yeaman and Wayne Burke if they can get themselves a much better improvement in. We'll see it through to the end of the lap, though. There's apparently a lot of green sectors, a lot of personal bests flashing up on the timing, so we'll see what happens here as Roberts decides, yep, I'm done. I'll practice pit entry one more time.
Yeah, why not? Squeeze in as much practice as you can. That might be his final time he can practice the run to pit entry. This is an anticlimactic end to qualifying as everybody's decided to end their runs. That's a wild driver through the curbs. Ashley Lear, aggressor to the max. As he, well, that's his sim racing team name. Here's the two ERT drivers. They've got a tow going for him. How about Mario Vartanian? Across the line, a 1 minute 50.8. Can't improve his pole time. Track conditions getting hotter, by the way. 22.8 degrees now. The session started at 22.2, so a little bit hotter, a little bit slower. Marcelo Rivera, who said he is going for victory tonight. He needs every point possible to make up as many positions in the championship. Shortest run to the line at 50.4. Marcelo Rivera to pole position.
Oh, yes, that is the time we were expecting, and Sebastian Flock giving him a slipstream on the way. Look at that improvement from Muggleton as well, all the way up to 7th, and Kurt Stenberg improves to 16th. The Trans-Tasman teammates definitely working together well there as well. What a fantastic session that was, Johnny. Some very late improvements from a lot of drivers, but hey, Marcelo Rivera is definitely getting his night off to the start he wanted.
That's exactly what he discussed. Remember, I mentioned it earlier. He wants to take victory. He wants a spot in the international finals. That's gifted to your top four. Those top four sit right behind him. Mario Vartanian, Liam Reston, Kat Sadonis, and Benjamin Roberts, our winner from last week at Bathurst. Wayne Burke had a late improvement in lap time. That improved him to the third row. We'll start alongside Benjamin Roberts. Josh Muggleton, great run to fourth. Row 4, I should say. He'll start 7th. Now, he's had 0 practice laps, so that's even more impressive by him. The ever-prepared Daniel Yeaman starts alongside him. Rob Bowden and Stephen Bull will round out the top 10. Mitch McLeod also improved late. Will start alongside Angus Cook, who's trying his best to support teammate Liam Reston. Not going to be able to do it from 12th, but let's see what he can do come the race a little later on. Hayden Veld, Bo Albert, Rallycross buddies, along with Sebastian Flock. They start down the order. Too much Rallycross, guys. Not enough Formula 3. Means they'll start a lot down the order as well. Race, it's an action-packed grid of 18 drivers. Field spread not too bad, 1.5 seconds, but the slipstream will be very important come the race.
We shall have to see how things go on lap 1. There's plenty of potential for the drivers to space out in the first sector there. Reminder of the format here. They're going to be racing for 40 minutes, and we're expecting drivers to run the tank out and pit around the lap 16 mark. If they can fuel save a little bit, they might be able to push it an extra lap. And every driver gets 1 fast repair, effectively a spare car. If you get too heavily damaged, you'll be able to pull into the pits, and your car will immediately get all of its damage repaired instantly. But you can only do that once.
Wouldn't that be a good view for the race? On top of the Ferris wheel here at Suzuka International Racing Course back in Japan. I hope Formula 1 comes here this year. There's been some rumors of the event potentially being cancelled. Would love to see all the junior categories there as well. Even Formula 3, which we race later on tonight. Well, right now, I should say. The race is about to start, Reese. The drivers are taking to the grid. That was quick. Quick transition from qualifying to the race. That's the beauty of sim racing. A minute to go. It's pretty much, they'll have to hit a home run, ERT and Marcelo Rivera, but the issue is, Reese, can they do it? The top 4 behind them are right there, ready to pounce.
Yeah, they are indeed, and It's going to be all about the run off the line as well. We've seen a few drivers have trouble getting these things off the line in previous rounds. Josh Muggleton at last round, Mount Panorama, comes to mind. And it's a nice wide grid here at Suzuka, so there'll be plenty of space if a driver makes a mistake. But still, there's plenty of opportunities here for things to go wrong. What can Marcelo Rivera do to try and break into that top 4?
And like we discussed, only a 250-meter run from pole position to turn number 1. Not much room, not many meters to make up spots here at the start, and everybody will be hounding down Marcelo Rivera, who sits on pole position, a 1 minute 50.4. What a rapid lap time. His teammate Sebastian Flock, though, sits last. Won't be able to help him with the slipstream in this one. The lights are about to illuminate. We are about to go racing here for round 3. Important positions to make up on the opening lap. We're underway. Top 4 in the championship all look good. Wayne Burke, a poor start, starting 6th. But the lead so far looks like it'll be maintained by Marcelo Rivera. He'll be challenged though by Vartanian. The two make contact, and now everybody's scuttling for position like it's an episode of Fall Guys at the moment. First position at the moment will remain with Vartanian. Rivera, though, just managed to avoid contact, but he sits back in 4th.
I've got the Fall Guys music playing in my head now. Thanks for that, Johnny. Well, Marcelo Rivera unfortunately falling down to 4th place there in just the first couple of corners, side by side between Dan Yeaman and Wayne Burke. That's for 6th, and it looks like Burkey, unfortunately, having further issues. He's just dropped back a little bit further to 8th, and Mitchell McLeod taking 9th from Rob Bowden. Mitch breaking into the top 10. Pretty good start for him, but, oh, have a look at that at the back. Stenberg, Flock, and Thornhill. Kane Thornhill has had a torrid lap 1.
Yeah, he's down a lot of positions, 4 spots down. Bo Albert's had a great start, up 5 positions to P10 and into your top 10. This is Benjamin Roberts. Started 5th and up into your podium positions already. Vartanian, Katsadonis, and Roberts. It was these 3 at Bathurst who were challenging together. But remember, can you make it through lap 1? Rivera didn't last week. He had an incident with Griffin Gardner. And something is under investigation in the background. It seems like Vartanian's been asked to readdress position here. Vartanian in first position will have to readdress. I couldn't quite catch who it was. We'll get a message officially from race control in a moment. But Vartanian, as far as I heard on radio, will be asked to readdress that first position.
Yeah, well, we did see them make contact in the middle of turn 2, didn't we? Vartanian and Rivera. I expect that might be the decision being made there. But Mario Vartanian will lead across the line to end lap 1. He leads by about 0.3 of a second over Tom Katsadonis and Benjamin Roberts right there in 3rd. This has been a pretty dramatic start to proceedings so far. But as things stand, most of the drivers have made it cleanly through lap 1. Kane Thornhill has come in for a pit stop on lap 1. It looks like he suffered a good amount of damage.
So officially from race control, Vartanian will have to readdress all the way down to 4th position with Rivera. So that was the contact, and he's done it. Marcelo Rivera, no, excuse me, that's Benjamin Roberts. So Benjamin Roberts has had an issue through the Dunlop curve, and he's had to give up. Well, he hasn't had to give up. He's essentially lost the position to Marcelo Rivera, who now sits in 3rd. That makes Mario Vartanian's life a little easier.
Yeah, it does for the time being. That lead extending to 7/8 of a second even. We're within that margin. So there we go. Incident between cars 77 and 9. Car 9 to redress. Incident at turn 1. Okay, so we're seeing there that Marcelo Rivera is the one being given the redress command. Nope. We apologize. Information not correct on that overlay. Yeah. There is the redress from Mario Vartanian. I think he lets Tom Katsadonis by, and now Marcelo Rivera only 1 place behind. I'd expect Vartanian to let him go here. Yep. Oh, not giving him much room through 130R though, is he? But I think Vartanian's played that pretty well. He's lost the minimum amount of time.
And critically, Liam Reston up a position. This is a sensational first opening laps. And the first 5 minutes are almost done, and we're yet to take a breather. So the action so far, let's round out the order. Katsadonis From now, Rivera, from Vartanian, that's your top three. Reston and Roberts round out the top five. You can see him in picture. Josh Muggleton, the man with 0 practice laps, it sits in 6th. Doing a great job, Josh Muggleton. As Rivera picks up the fastest lap, that'll be an extra bonus point. He'll need every point he can get to climb into the top 4. But at the moment, mathematically, it's not enough. He needs some bad luck for the drivers ahead of him. Daniel Yeaman sits in 8th. He was just passed by Wayne Burke on that last lap. And how about this for a top 10 to round it out? Mitch McLeod and Bo Albert. A lot of experience on iRacing sitting in those 9th and 10th positions.
Indeed, and have a look at that battle for 7th, of course. Berkey making the place up on Yeaman at the start of the lap, but Mitchell McLeod is right there with him, has gained 2 spots. Bo Albert behind has gained the most positions of the field. He's up 5 places right now, but he is under a lot of pressure from Rob Bowden, who we know has a lot of skill in these cars. He got the fastest lap point back at Phillip Island, round 1.
Very important. Those extra bonus points. Remember, also 2 extra bonus points for scoring no incident points. Now, will Rivera and Vartanian, you reckon that's a 2x race at the start of the race? A little light contact, or was that a 0x?
It would be a 0. It would be a 0x because you only get a 2x if, in fact, it gets upgraded to 4 incident points if you spin another driver. But if it's a little bit of incidental contact like that, drivers don't get any incident points, but it is marked as an incident on your record. So I think they'll miss out on those points.
And as far as I can see, Ashley Lear has scored an incident point along with Kurt Stenberg, Hayden Veld, Dan Yeaman and Wayne Burke, who's also in the same position as Marcelo Rivera, going for points to make the top 4 position. There's your live points on the right-hand side of picture. And Liam Reston there makes up a position. Reston side by side. Good action here.
Indeed. Round the outside in turns 1 and 2. Not an easy move to pull off, but he's managed to do it. Yeah, and have a look at those live points there. Currently, car number 8, Tom Katsadonis, would be champion if the checkered flag fell now. So, very close gap. Rivera's got to do everything he can right now. You've got to hope for some bad luck. I know it's a little bit... It's all in competitive spirit. You know, you've got to be out there for yourself right now. And that's what Marcelo Rivera is doing. Driving splendidly. But at the moment, it's just not enough. But it's all going to come down to that pit stop. Remember, we spoke about strategy. We're expecting the pit stops to come around 10 to 15 minutes to go in this race. That's collectively what most of the paddock, the virtual paddock's been discussing. And we could see, much like we saw at Phillip Island Race, we could see a lot of position changes. But one thing we didn't expect was for a driver to break away from the pack. That's what we saw at Bathurst with Benjamin Roberts. If he can break the slipstream here, if it's Tom Katsanona sitting in first, that could be very critical for him to take a race victory. Oh, have a look at that. That looked like Mitch McLeod making the move on Dan Yeaman, who's starting to fall back a bit here. And now he's right in the clutches of Albert as well. Brilliant 4-car battle for 8th place on track at the moment. Yeaman's going to try and get Mitch back here. And further up, we are seeing that Liam Reston is on his typical charge in the mid-race. But have a look at this dice. McLeod trying up the inside, then into the Casio triangle, completes the move. That was brilliant.
Great stuff. A lot of action, and they'll begin to form up through the S's as the battles continue. Bo Albert is still in a nice scrap here with the 85 of Dan Yeaman. Yeaman has had a very bad start to the race here. Down another position. Bo Albert, the complete opposite. Rocketing through the field. Made up a lot of spots. Might even think he's quicker off-road. Might even just dip 2 wheels on the grass. Bo, why not go for it? Nailing the lines here. He's absolutely putting Mitch McLeod under pressure right now. Not something I would say often, Mitch McLeod under pressure. There he is. McLeod has missed about 7 apexes through the S's there, Reese.
Yeah, he has indeed. And it looks like Albert's going to try and line him up for a move sooner rather than later.
Oh, he has.
Oh, yeah. Ever closer here to the diffuser of the number 40. Yeaman's still with them, though, so Albert has to keep on his toes here.
Now, I was joking around, but Bo Albert literally dipped 2 wheels on the grass there, and he's going to go on the inside at the hairpin here to make the move on Mitch McLeod, still alongside each other on the exit. This will run down all the way to Spoon Curve. And I think Mitch McLeod's got a nice straight line advantage here. Big setup. So everybody's on that same setup, and right behind them is Dan Yeaman looking to make up positions. Oh, I thought they made contact for a moment. Still side by side through Spoon Curve, and Bo Albert finally comes out on top.
Well, there we go. Move completed into Spoon, but now Mitch is going to have the slipstream again on the run down to 130R, so this battle isn't over. These guys have brought Rob Bowden, Stephen Bull, and Angus Cook right into it. Bo going defensive into 130R. Going across the racetrack just a couple of times. We'll see if McLeod decides to dive up there. Looks like Bo is trying his best here to defend that place. And Yeaman almost thinking about a move there. Wayne Burke, meanwhile, looks like has made a move for 6th. And that's why Josh Muggleton, unfortunately, another incident. We've seen it at Phillip Island. We saw it at Bathurst. He crashed both times. Fortunately, the car looks clean there. But into the pits comes Rob Bowden.
That's a very interesting pit stop by Rob Bowden very early on in this race. Will he take tyres, though? That's another question. Here's what happened to Muggleton. Was there contact with Wayne Burke? These two were right next to each other. If there was contact there... No way. All on his own, just like Bathurst.
Yeah, that's a real shame there for Muggo. We know his skill. He's raced in real life plenty in Super 3 and a couple runs in Super 2 as well. So very unfortunate to see that happen. We see drivers trying to get into the grass a little bit on the way into Degner as well, just to widen the entry a little bit. We'll see how much it helps them. Goodness gracious me, what a race this has been so far. Here's Liam Reston, meanwhile. Looks like another replay of getting past Mario Vartanian on the way into turn 1. I mean, what a move this was. Vartanian tried to fight it, and they almost made contact in the middle of the corner, but just enough room given.
Yeah, good stuff there. So Vartanian sits... The thing is, Vartanian, he sits in 4th, I was going to say. Here's a replay at the start. Rivera very quick off pole, and look out for your top 2 here. Marcelo Rivera and Mario Vartanian. They will make contact at turn 2, so they're still so close to each other, and from that angle, and that's where the readdress was required by the number 77 of Mario Vartanian. So luckily those two survived. They're going to be real careful here. There's a lot of time left in this race. They might not make the end of the race. My voice might not make the end of the race, Reese. I'm hoping for that, though. I'm hoping that it does, I mean.
Yeah, so am I. Otherwise, I'll have to commentate solo, and then my voice will be gone. I tell you what, there's a bit of a dice for the lead going on here. We saw Marcelo Rivera trying to get past Tom Katsadonis for the lead, and look at that. He's just taken it back into turn 1. Puts him 2 points behind a top 4 position, so he's going to have to rely on Mario Vartanian falling back. I don't think there's much chance of that.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. But it could come down to those incident points too, Reese. 2 points is where the bonus points come in. And with Rivera with a race victory and 77 Vartanian. So Mario Vartanian, so far his results, if we look back, has his highest result was last week at Bathurst, so P2. So a race win on tiebreaker and the extra 2 bonus points. And if Vartanian doesn't score those bonus points either, that'll put Rivera into a top 4 position. Nail-biting finish coming up in these last 30 minutes.
Absolutely. We've only just gone a quarter race time, and there's still plenty to go here with Vartanian trying to stay in touch with the top 3 here. What a run it's been from Liam Reston, meanwhile. Back into the position he started in, 3rd place. And he's right on the back of Tom Katsadonis now, who's fallen off the wagon a little bit once Rivera got past him.
You don't want that to happen. Complete opposite of Bathurst, where Roberts was the one who was breaking away from the rest of the pack. It's about a second now from the draft. Now, maybe Roberts just isn't as quick as he was at Mount Panorama. He was very quick at the mountain. It could be one of his sort of best circuits out there. This is a bogey circuit for a few people. Sebastian Flock said he is not any quick at Bathurst, and that's why he sits last at the moment. Suzuka, I should say. That's why he sits last in P18. Katsadonis now riding on board with him, and Liam Reston may make a move here for P2, but he backs out of it.
I think that's a smart decision. He was a bit too far back to try and get it done into turns 1 and 2. He'll be waiting for another opportunity further down the line.
So we're going to see this a lot this race, Reese. Suzuka is one of those circuits where, despite it's very difficult to overtake, I think in Formula 3s, I would say that there aren't many circuits where it is difficult to overtake in these cars. That's what makes the racing so good in F3, and it's great that Motorsport Australia have decided to choose this and to go along with it. Great choice, great car track combo as well. We went to Phillip Island round 1, Bathurst round 2. Why not head to Asia and head to Japan here for round 3?
Indeed, as another defense here from Marcelo Rivera into the Kobayashi hairpin, as we have taken to calling it. Very straight exit as well. I have to say, it's been amazing to see these drivers battling as they are. Oh, slight contact between the two of these guys on the way through 200R corner. Katsadonis back to the lead. My apologies. Holding back a cough at the moment.
It's all good. And Rivera now, he's going to have a lot of scratches. Luckily for Roberts, like we said, is back into the clutches of the top 5. Action-packed, 25 minutes coming up. The pit stops could separate them all. Somebody is either defending or doesn't want to lead this race. And I'm talking about Tom Katsadonis, who sits in the first position. This could end badly. Oh. All 5 of these drivers are nip and tuck through the Casio triangle. Only separated by millimeters through the apex and through the exit. Katsadonis could claw away with an advantage here. We're going to go 3 wide on the front stretch.
Mario Vartanian on the inside. This is going to be a very narrow entry to turn 1. They are level. Liam Reston backs out of it. And oh, here we go. Take 2. Vartanian versus Rivera in turn 2. And they give each other the space. Rivera keeps that position, but Vartanian, a very good move there to get into 3rd.
That was hilarious. I doubt anyone was looking at it, but the live points graphic on the right-hand side was going berserk. There were so many position changes in just a matter of corners. So it sits Katsadonis in P1, 9/10 the advantage on the, well, do we call it a peloton now, Reese? He's got a nice advantage here, the lead driver.
Yeah, I think he does. I mean, if you're leading by 9/10 of a second, you're still within slipstream range, but the drivers are going to have to sort themselves out behind. This is amazingly close racing that we're seeing, and Liam Reston still not done with this. But have a look at that. The battling has brought Benjamin Roberts right back into it. Remember, he was over a second behind the top 4 when we last looked at him. Now he and Wayne Burke are standing a chance at a potential podium here.
And like many sim racers, Benjamin Roberts began sim racing during the pandemic. So ended up getting his rig, jumped on iRacing in 2020. And he hasn't looked back. He's become this quick in 2 years of experience. Imagine you give him another 10. He could be up there with some of the world's best for sure if he keeps grinding at it. Good stuff from Benjamin Roberts, the 23-year-old from Melbourne. As a couple of wheels on the grass there. Was that Rivera I saw, just dipping a couple of wheels? Luckily, not to spin that thing right around.
Yeah, he stays in 2nd as Vartanian defends 3rd from Marcelo Rivera. Now, let's see then what Vartanian does on the way into the first couple of turns here. We look back at that fight for 4th on back. Roberts still within the battle on my timing. Wayne Burke dropping off a little bit. He's not quite keeping pace with these guys. They're so close to each other. They're able to take great advantage in the slipstream. There goes Kurt Stenberg into the pit lane. Another early pit stop there. Yes, indeed.
I was about to say, Reese, sorry to cut you off, but
all good.
That was very, very early for Kurt Stenberg. Pit window opens in about 10 minutes' time. Everybody should pit on the same lap. It'll be risky to go a lap longer. Your car will be lighter for an extra lap. This brings back those old open wheeler rules when refueling used to exist. And Kurt Stenberg through his stop, it was a long stop, 7 seconds. Now, has he gone?
He has. He's taken tyres.
Yeah, so Reese, let's take a look at that. So if his lap times go purple and they're quicker, it might be worth somebody in the lead battle taking the risk. But for an extra 3 seconds, I just don't think that's worth it.
Yeah, at the very least, he'd probably break even with that amount of time loss. And you can see the cold tyres are not working to his favour in the first sector. He's just lost a position there to Kane Thornhill, who's also visited the pits early on in this race, but he's gotten damage repair. I think he would have taken fuel though, Kane, so I think he'll be good to the end. This fight's still going on though. Reston on the bumper of Mario Vartanian, and the number 77 goes defensive. Reston classified ahead on the timer just for the moment, but he's going to have to try at the Casio triangle here. Defensive.
That's insane. Side by side through 130R. It's never something you see in the real world. It's not often, I should say. But in the virtual world, why not take the risk? Got a top 4 position in the international finals. How often does that come out? A competition like this. As Liam Reston here tries to make a move on Vartanian for third. He lunges up the inside. That'll be third position for Reston. No holds barred. They are not going to take it easy. They all want track position because look at this, Reese. Your lead driver of Katsadonis is running away with the lead so far.
Yeah, all this battling is working to Tom Katsadonis' advantage, isn't it? These guys, I think, are aware of that, and they'll be trying their best to sort out their positions relative to each other. In comes Muggo into the lane, and it looks like that's a fuel-only stop for the number 81, so he's good to the end.
That was a long one, 6 seconds. The pit stop's supposed to take 3.5 to 4 for that 10 litres. It should be the same for all drivers, so such a slow stop for Muggleton. It might not, I don't even think that's within tyre range either. So certainly a long stop. Maybe he's taken too much fuel, Reese. Maybe something's gone on there with Muggo. We don't know. We'll get down to the bottom of that later on. 20 minutes to go. We're about halfway through this race. And the story so far is that Tom Katsadonis will lead the field away and is in prime position for victory. What Marcelo Rivera, though, needs, Reese, he needs to be first and he needs Vartanian to finish 5th. He also needs Vartanian to score an incident point, and Rivera also needs to avoid one himself. That'll send Rivera to the international finals. I hope that made sense, but for the moment, we just got an update, and Marcelo is on 5 incident points, so he's going to need Vartanian to finish 6th or lower.
Yeah, and Mario currently has 0 incidents, according to our producer there. Rivera fighting back here versus Liam Reston. There was a little bit of a tap between them on the way into 130R, and it looks like they are nowhere near done here. This battle for second is just fantastic. It's been the same every single lap. These 4 guys all together on the way into turn 1. Katsadonis continuing to streak away. He's leading by nearly 2 seconds now. But there goes Rivera to the inside of Reston into turn 2. And gets it done nicely on the exit. But Mario, oh, hello. Oh, dear.
No.
Oh, no. There we go. That's it. And that is going to change the face of this race dramatically. Reston and Rivera making contact in the S's.
That is not good. That ends Marcelo Rivera's chances in this championship. He is well far from it. And what could have been a fairy tale story turns to heartbreak for Rivera. He had nothing to lose. And as they traveled through the S's, he was pouncing. He was on it. And just got very loose through a couple of corners. Tyres way too hot and straight into the side of Liam Reston. Hopefully for Reston, that doesn't impact his championship challenge too much, because he's also in contention for that top 4 spot.
That he is. You can see the onboard from Vartanian. He was having, from Rivera. He was having a lot of trouble keeping the car going straight. And with a compromised line like that through the S's, there's only one way you're going to go if you turn in narrow, and that is straight into the car on the outside.
Now, wait a second. So this race has flipped on its head a little bit here. So Wayne Burke sits in 3rd, a podium position at the moment. And now he becomes the man in that challenger spot. He's the underdog. It's only fitting an Aussie is an underdog. I say that, but there's 18 Aussies driving out there, so one of them's got to be an underdog, Reese. Doesn't really make any sense at the same time. But Wayne Burke sitting in 5th at the moment in the championship. That'll promote Danny Yeaman to 6th with Rivera's incident.
Yeah, well, Rivera's completely outside contention for the top 4 now. Goodness gracious, Reston's dramas continue there as he makes the pass on Ashley Lear and decides, you know what, might as well take my pit stop now. I've already lost a ton of time thanks to that incident. Just get it done, get it out of the way, and try to race as best as I can to the end. The incident is under review from race control.
I think that's, what do you reckon, Reese? A slam dunk penalty for Rivera on that one. It was
maybe.
Yeah, we'll see what race control say. Certainly not the best for Marcelo Rivera, who's just gone off at the Casio Triangle in the background too. You might see it just to the left of picture. He's actually ducked into the lane, so Rivera going for that pit stop early on. There might be damage. Now, all the drivers have what's called a fast repair on iRacing. They should be able to get that F3 repaired instantly.
Indeed, it looks like Marcelo got a mechanical black flag from that contact with Liam Reston, so the fast repair will come at a very good time for him, but he was having a lot of trouble getting that thing back to the pits, cost himself a ton of time. He's just come out of the lane, he's running last.
So certainly heartbreak, and 12 incident points for him too. If you get 17, he'll get hit with a drive-through penalty. Not that that will mean much with your top 10 scoring points here. Unless he can go for fastest lap, it won't mean much though for Marcelo. But good on him though. Good on him given a challenge and going full steam ahead as the racing will continue here. So we watched some good scraps. 77 and 89 here of Vartanian and Wayne Burke. I should say actually that's Benjamin Roberts promoting himself to a podium. Roberts sits comfortably second in the championship with that pass as well. But Katsadonis, I don't want to say it was unexpected, but for the man who loves his sashimi to win the championship at Suzuka will be a great story. And is that rest on a round?
I think so. We'll have to see. And it looks like a pit lane penalty for car 9 of Marcelo Rivera for that one. No, that was Reston's teammate Angus Cook going for a spin. So he's fallen back to 13th place at the moment.
So pit stops coming up, Reese. Where does this race... Well, how does this race... we'll talk about that in a moment's time, actually. This is what happened to Angus Cook. So it was through the exit of Spoon Curve. And I think he's dipped a wheel on the curb here, is what I will assume. Unless there's been some major contact. This is what the drivers are talking about right there. That's where you can drop the car. And that's at a full 150 kilometers per hour.
Yeah, that's a shame there. Car is at max load on the right-hand side on the way through there, and if you hit the curb wrong, it's just going to go, and man, he's still having trouble keeping that rear end in control, isn't he? Well, we'll turn our attentions back further forward here because have a look at Benjamin Roberts setting pretty good lap time on the last lap, but Mario Vartanian an instant of a second faster than him last time by. So certainly not over here for the battle for second, but man, all of this has worked in Tom Katsadonis' favor, hasn't it? Look at that gap, 2.8 seconds.
Great stuff. It's what we saw at Bathurst. Called it earlier as well. I said, you know, the drivers can't afford to battle too much. That was inevitable for somebody to break away, and luckily Katsadonis has done exactly that. Driving smart. Got a little bit lucky with the battles behind. Could even win this championship. Liam Reston, who came in as championship leader, could drop down to 4th. But that's enough, though. That is enough, Reese, because those international finals loom for Katsadonis, Vartanian, Benjamin Roberts, and, of course, Liam Reston.
Indeed, as this battle continues, we'll talk a bit more about that. The Federation of Motorsport Clubs of India has created the Asia-Pacific Single-Seater eSports Championship in 2022. Motorsport Australia needs to nominate 4 drivers to represent Australia at those finals. And, well, this is how they're going to decide it as, wow, goodness gracious, still huge battles going on in the midst of this fight.
Any pit stops? Nope, nobody opts for it this time around. Will it be next lap? So far, now we know it's a timed race, but the drivers have completed, as far as I can see, this will be the 15th lap. So they can't make it past lap 16. As that's Angus Cook, who had the spin earlier. Did you clutch? I heard you there, Reese. I was getting ready for a bit of contact. Luckily, they avoided it.
Yeah, only just. Sebastian Flock is right in the midst of this as well there in 15th place. He had a look at Angus Cook on the way into the first couple of turns. Seems that both Summit drivers have had their big issues this afternoon. And wow, Stenny, take it easy, mate. Big oversteer through the S's. Those rears will be cooked on the way into Degner. That might not play into his favour.
Yeah, that'll be... Don't pass into there. Thank you, Angus, for thinking better of that one. As Stenny driving this thing like it's a supercar. Cook is around. Barely able to save it. And that's on the racing line. He's made contact with somebody else as well.
Flock, I think. That's Sebastian Flock, who's come into that incident. Flock's teammate Rivera, meanwhile, it looks like has retired from the race. I haven't seen him come out of the pits after coming back into service penalty. We'll get another look at what happened here to Angus Cook, and we got his reaction live on the Zoom feed. I don't know if this was contact. It looks like he might have just gotten crossed up in the mid-corner there, and Flock, well, he had nowhere to go, did he? No opportunity to react.
There was a clumsy incident, but he had nowhere to go, as you said. And whilst that's all taken place, the leaders have come into the lane. Vartanian, Katsadonis, Dan Yeaman, Mitch McLeod, and Bo Albert. They've all decided to make a pit stop. The only drivers left who have yet to make a stop are your top 4. Benjamin Roberts, Burke, Hayden Veld, and Liam Reston. Everybody else has ducked into the lane. We're expecting them to come in this lap round. Very important pit stops, but your leader so far, your effective leader is Katsudonis. Bo Albert sitting in 7th, 3rd effective in this field. It'll be interesting to see where Roberts and Burke slot at the end of their pit stops.
Yeah, indeed. The fact that they've stayed out for a couple extra laps, I'm not too sure what the deal's going to be there. I think what they're looking for is getting a lighter overall fuel load towards the end of the race, because these guys fueling up their cars right now, they are going to have slightly heavier cars at this point in time, and we'll see how that affects their pace.
Well, it'll be Reese just for this lap, right? Because then they'll all have the same. Yeah, they'll all have the same fuel load for the end. But this one lap could be very critical. You could gain upwards of. I mean, who knows? Could be half a second to a second. So this is important now for Benjamin Roberts. Can he claw back the advantage to Tom Katsudonis? He's got a lot of time to make up, 1 or 2 seconds, and he's clawing along Wayne Burke with him. There is no way these two will run an extra lap. I'll quit commentary if they do. And as I say that, I was very nervous there, Reese, for a second. If they didn't, I'd have to retire. They've come in, and the fuel tank is run almost dry. And hopefully quick pit stops for them. They're joined by Veld and Reston in the background too. And here's your leader, Katsudonis.
All right, well, he's out of the Casio Triangle, out of the final corner, and he will undoubtedly retake the race lead, but we're wondering where this is going to put the likes of Bo Albert, as in they come and out they come as well. Vartanian coming out, just ahead there of Benjamin Roberts, but Roberts with the momentum is going to slide his way through on the outside of the first couple of corners. Actually, I've slightly gotten that wrong. That's Vartanian making the move on Roberts there. My apologies, everybody. Vartanian still 2nd, Roberts still 3rd, Burke still 4th, but Bo Albert is not that far behind now.
Fastest lap for Burke too. Not somebody who races open wheelers that often, Wayne Burke. He's an engineer in the real world for Team 18. Might have heard them in the Supercars universe. Does a lot of work for them behind the scenes. Races in the Supercars E-Series 2. That'll be taking place on Wednesday night. So he's got a lot of commitments. That's why Griffin Gardner didn't race today. He said, you know what, I'm out of the championship. I really need to focus on Wednesday night. So he was unable to get the car running virtually for this one, as on the exit there was Benjamin Roberts driving that thing like it was a rallycross. Oh, no, wait.
Oh, no, that
That's
might be
a
a
lap
lap
car.
car. Yes, it is. That's Stephen Bull, who's currently running down in 8th place right now. And this is a battle for position, actually. He's got Hayden Veld and Liam Reston behind him. So we've gotten a little confused with the liveries there. Veld and Burke, of course, teammates at Synergy Sim Racing. There is Burke trailing behind Vartanian and Roberts.
It was improper. Oh, no, Hayden
just
Veld's
speaking
around.
of.
Hayden, but that's definitely Hayden Veld. We won't have another proper Murray Walker moment with that one. We can confirm that's Hayden Veld, who's spun on the exit of the Spoon and of Spoon Curve, and here they are. So this again, now, Reese, I'm going to assume it's that deathly curve that just, I mean, it can really catch a driver out, and you get it wrong just like that, you will spin, and you will be straight out of this race.
Yeah, you could see that the rear just got a little bit beyond the sawtooth curb and onto the painted green concrete there for Hayden Veld, and no chance of the rear being preserved there. Vartanian and Roberts, though, the battle for 2nd. Roberts is on an absolute charge here, having come out of the pits just recently, and with 1 lap on this fuel tank less than Vartanian, he's still getting back into that rhythm, but he's wasting no time putting the pressure on.
You've got to do this for some extra points. This will be for pride, not for anything else for Benjamin Roberts. A little bit of confidence too. Not as good as he was this race as Bathurst, would you say, Reese? For Benjamin Roberts, I should say.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I mean, Roberts won Bathurst by a country mile, didn't he? There's a spin, meanwhile, for Mitchell McLeod. He falls back into 10th place. Looks like an incident we've seen a couple of times before, getting crossed up through Degner too. Oh yeah, that is a banked corner, that, and if you don't enter it just right, the rear will say, no thank you, I don't want to do this anymore.
Mitch McLeod, who has raced pretty much everything and anything, and he's willing to do anything on iRacing, and there he goes, straight off the racetrack. That's some good skill. Some people might think, when you spin, it's a skill to also avoid extra collisions after a spin. That's where his experience comes in. Battle continues between Vartanian and Roberts for your final podium positions. To get this wrong, Wayne Burke, Bo Albert ready to clean up. Bo Albert up 10 positions so far. I'm sure he wouldn't mind a podium for this one for some pride.
Indeed, and I definitely congratulate him on that. Can always count on Bo to set the timing screens alight. And if anyone's watching and curious as to why we are racing Formula 3 cars in particular, that's what the Federation of Motorsport Clubs of India are going to be using for the Asia Pacific single-seater eSports series later on in the year. So Motorsport Australia have decided might as well use the same cars, but there's plenty of other Asia Pacific nations submitting drivers for this series, and they are running a variety of different series in a variety of different cars across a variety of different sims. So we're going to have a big spread of talent here when we get to those Asia Pacific finals later on in 2022. Vartanian then on board. Looking back at Benjamin Roberts, this is an awful lot of pressure. Mario Vartanian has been up and down this field in this race, hasn't he?
Yeah, these are the only two without incident points, so 2 extra bonus points for them in the championship. That'll make it harder for Wayne Burke to qualify up there and sneak in the top 4 spot. 5 minutes to go. Whilst this happens, we'll keep the tradition, Reese. Last round, we found a Google review of Mount Panorama as Kurt Stenberg goes for fastest lap here with a late pit stop. I found another Google review of this circuit. Stephen Gosden, who came to Suzuka back in 2019. He said everything was well organized, very busy. He loved it. But nevertheless, the queuing from the bus to the train station took a while, and the queues for lunch were long too, except for the one for French fries. So that's what he ended up ordering. 5 stars from Stephen Gosden. He loved this circuit.
Of course, I think it'll get 5 stars from a lot of drivers as well. Right on the bumper now of Mario Vartanian is Benjamin Roberts. And we've only got 4 minutes to go in this race, so the battle for second still not decided. There was also a change of position for 7th. Liam Reston trying to work his way back up after that incident with Marcelo Rivera some laps back. Currently passing Stephen Bull for 7th place, so he'll remain in 4th in the Drivers' Championship for the time being.
Yeah, that should be enough, I think, for Reston, because he's got about 6 seconds to make up to Dan Yeaman, who sits in 6th. So good recovery drive for Liam Reston after the incident he had with Marcelo Rivera through this section of the racetrack, the S's, and through Dunlop Curve. You can see everything here from the TV cameras. What a shot that is with the Ferris wheel in the background. It's very blind in the cockpit. Degner Curve, where we've seen so many incidents over the years here in Formula One. Through the exit, that's a tough one right there. As these two battle for that podium position. Take a look at the gap to the lead. Reese, take a look at that. 8/10 of a second. Where has Katsadonis dropped back? Could he be underfueled? That's a question right now. He may be underfueled to make the checkered flag, and will he hand victory to one of these two? That's a big talking point come the end of this one. I can't see where he's made a mistake, but last lap round, he was about 7/10 slower than these two.
Yeah, that's interesting there. So we could still be looking at a battle for the lead. Have a look at that. The gap's dropped even further. It's down to 8/10 now. They're well in slipstream range here for Tom Katsadonis. So we could be looking at a 3-way battle on the final lap of this race. We're still going to have a lap to go before that, though. They'll be starting the penultimate lap when they cross the line. But we're on for an absolute grandstand finish here.
I don't think he has enough fuel. 6/10 the gap now, 7/10. And whilst that's taken place, Josh Muggleton is out of the race, along with Marcelo Rivera, your 2 2014 GT Academy finalists from Australia. They are both out of this one. We won't see them for the rest of the series. This, the final round. The championship and the top 4 is all sealed, but who will take race victory? I thought this was in the bag for Sashimi Master Tom Katsadonis, who sits in first position. But 7/10 the gap. And right now, has he made contact? Does he have damage? Is it fuel? There could be something wrong here for Tom Katsadonis.
Yeah, 151.3 on the last lap. Compare that to a 51 flat for Vartanian. 51-0 for Benjamin Roberts, so they're continuing to reel him in here, and I think they're wise to that now. You saw how much Roberts was attacking Vartanian just out of the pit stop, but he's backed off a little bit. He's thinking, okay, I'm going to give Mario a chance here to catch up to Katsadonis and see if I can sneak through to take victory.
So a very, very dramatic finish now. We weren't expecting this. It was one hand on the trophy for Katsadonis. But how about this for fuel saving at the finish? We think it's fuel saving. That's what we're speculating. Because as far as we've heard from behind the scenes, there hasn't been anything dramatic that's gone on for Katsadonis, but consistently his lap times have been poor. He's ramped it up last lap round, only 0.3 slower now than these two behind. Do they want to squabble side by side through 130R? On the inside is Roberts trying to make a move for P2. Vartanian defends very well though, and very robust defensive driving from Mario Vartanian to hold on to P2. That's only going to help Katsadonis seal victory here. We begin the final lap.
We do, and Roberts back on the attack. I think he's recognized that they won't be able to quite catch Katsadonis up at this point, and using the slipstream down the front straight, trying on Vartanian into turn one, but Mario has the inside line there, so not going to happen just yet. They're going to have to negotiate these S's and the Degner corners, single file. Next passing opportunity at the hairpin, but will Roberts want to be able to take it there?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's going to be a lot to catch up here to Katsadonis. 0.5 the gap. That's the lowest it's been since the pit stop runs. Could this be a last lap dash? As you said, Reese, you know, the slipstream in iRacing, around that half a second mark, it's very effective. 0.4 the gap now to your leader, Katsadonis. Will he even make it to the checkered flag in time? Whilst this is taking place, there is an awesome battle pack that Mitch McLeod is holding up there in 8th position.
Katsadonis in the hairpin. Sorry about that. We cut away just briefly there, but the gap is right back down. We're going to have to check in with that battle for 8th later, because I think we're about to see a move for the lead from Vartanian if he can pull it off down the straight to 130R.
How about this through Spoon? This will go down to the final braking zone. Or will it go down to 130R? There is no doubt that not just one driver is in contention for the win. Your top three of Katsadonis, Vartanian, and Benjamin Roberts all searching for victory. Here they rise to 270 kilometers an hour. Benjamin Roberts to the... No, that's Tom Katsadonis there, losing first position. Vartanian takes first place. Roberts is through too. So at the moment, Vartanian looks like he is comfortably in position to take victory. He'll make it to the line on fuel. What a stunning last lap. Vartanian victor from Suzuka. Did you expect that 5 minutes ago? Where did that come from? Goodness gracious. Wayne Burke is out of fuel at the line too. So a very risky strategy from Katsadonis. He still manages to make the checkered flag and he ends up in third. The race is over. What a victory though, Reese, from Mario Vartanian.
What a victory indeed. There is Stephen Bull just defending from Hayden Veld at the line, but goodness gracious, Vartanian timing that perfectly, and I think Katsadonis was caught out a bit there, got on the brakes early on the way into the Casio Triangle, and lost second to Benjamin Roberts on the way through. Wow, what a way to finish off that season, but I think we can confirm Tom Katsadonis as your champion for the Asia Pacific Qualifier Series here. We'll run through our results first, though.
Yeah, what a finish. What a cracking scrap to win that race. That was remarkable. Vartanian with a last lap move into 130R. Both he and Roberts both scoring 0 incident points and both claiming your top two positions. The cleanest drivers in the field did the best job there, and they ended up in first and second, like we said. Benjamin Roberts just managed to squeeze a pass. I didn't expect him. I thought he was way far back, so that's why I mentioned him at 130R. I said, you know what, he's got no chance. But Katsadonis was an absolute sitting duck heading into the Casio Triangle. And that is why Katsadonis will end up in third. An issue with fuel is what we expect. That's the rumor so far. We'll try and have a chat with him at the moment. We'll get the live points in a few moments' time as well, post-race too. Wayne Burke just ran out of fuel, but just managed to cross the line in fourth. So it came down to the wire between him and Tom Katsadonis. Albert rounds out the top 5, up 10 spots for Bo Albert there, Reese. What a race from those 5. The rest of the grid and the rest of your results are up on screen.
Indeed. Yeaman, Reston, Bull, Veld, and Bowden rounding out the top 10 there, with Lear coming up to 11th from 17th. Not bad for him. Kane Thornhill, if lap 1 went a bit better, he could have been a lot higher, unfortunately. Flock, though, gaining nicely in 13th. McLeod in 14th with that late spin. And Stenberg and Cook, your last finishes there. Muggleton and Rivera ultimately retiring from this one. Rivera gave it a red-hot go, but it just wasn't his day.
So the rest of the results up on screen, like we said. What a race! What a scrap! Let's grab a breather. Let's have a look at the championship standings. Not enough for Berkey with the fastest lap, 19 points behind, but it was tied for your championship. How about that? Vartanian and Roberts. Okay. With that victory, though, so how does that work? We have to go to the tiebreaker now, which I will get up for you in a moment's time. So, Reese, let me just confirm that. I'll get back to you in about 5 seconds.
Of course. Yeah, so I think I jumped the gun a bit, confirming Tom Casadonis as the champion. That late move there, confirming Vartanian as the series champion. My goodness, it really did go down to the wire, didn't it? And Liam Reston, fortunately, holds on to that 4th place in the standings as well.
So this is an interesting one because we have to check the Phillip Island results for round 1 because they both scored a first, they both scored a second. We'll confirm that a little later on. Let's get the results from Phillip Island up in a moment, Reese, and confirm who is series champion. We'll get that officially done for you because the tiebreaker for first, they both have a win each. They both have a second place each. So we're going to have to go back to that Phillip Island round for round number 1 where they both finished off the podium. We'll talk to your winner right now, though. It is Mario Vartanian. Mario, just checking you got us first, Mario?
Hello. Yep.
Hello, Mario. We're still confirming champion at the moment. I think at the moment I think it's tied. I think it's completely tied because you two scored. I've got to get back to that. I'm hearing some different stuff here behind the scenes from a couple different people, Mario. But first off, congrats on the win. Did you expect that on the final lap is the first question.
I mean, on the start of the opening lap, I thought Ben's going to try to do a move and therefore being 8/10 gap to the lead, I was over. But then, honestly, I'm quite speechless. I mean, I don't exactly know how it all played out, but I was pretty lucky with that one.
And, talk about the race there. So just confirming something, do we think it's fuel, an issue with Tom? Because we think a lot of drivers underfueled for this race there.
No, he just made a mistake on the last lap. Nothing with fuel.
Fair enough. For you as well, though, we'll confirm if you're champion or not. I'm still waiting for it. What a race. What a series for you. Formula 3s, are they something you race often? For you right now to head to the international finals to represent Australia, that's got to be a good feeling in some open wheelers.
Yeah, I'm really stoked. I mean, coming into it, I was a bit more on the curious side, having never really driven F3s competitively because I mainly drove GT3s and Porsche Cups, but it was a bit of a stepping stone, a learning stone, and it worked out pretty well.
And one more thing, Mario, just behind the scenes, for you to go internationally and race against a whole heap of talent from overseas, how much experience do you have on the world stage?
I've had quite a bit racing in the more of the GT World Championship run by BMW, so I'm feeling quite confident going into it, and having teammates such as Tom and Ben and Liam, I think we can put together a good result for Australia.
And actually, I said one more thing, but just on that, 18 years of age, Mario, you are born in 2004. There are people out there who probably have memories from like 2001 before you were born. They're going to feel old, but for you to be this quick, to be up there as well in series championships, a top 4 result is just, how about 5 years from now? Where can you be in the world of sim racing?
I mean, who knows? I mean, there's sim racing's changing quite a bit, and there's becoming more and more opportunities with internationally. So hopefully, I can have some sort of success.
Well, thanks very much, Mario. Mario Vartanian, winner from Suzuka. Didn't expect to say that 5 minutes ago. So well done, Mario, on victory again. Reese Gardner, you are still alongside me. I'm going to hand it over to you. Benjamin Roberts sits with you, our second place finisher.
Yeah, congratulations on that, Ben. Just want to know your feelings here. Tied for the championship there with Mario Vartanian. An excellent job from you. Certainly came with that victory at Bathurst, but still a great round here too.
Yeah, thanks, Reece. I shouldn't have been anywhere near the front of a field tonight. I've had very little practice, the sort of a bum knee, so my braking hasn't been real great. I was really surprised to be up there at all towards the end, and I mean, with those two just going side by side in front of me, I just sort of I was just based on instinct, I think. I wasn't really thinking about it.
Well, either way, it's an excellent job from you, and we send you our congratulations. You're going to represent Australia at the Asia Pacific eSports Single-Seater Series. And finally, we'll throw it back to you, Jonathan. You got Tom Katsadonis in the booth.
Well, Tom, that was a heartbreaking finish. I just have to ask you, was that fuel?
No, I locked up the rears going into the hairpin on the last lap.
But what we saw, though, was you had a nice advantage after the pit stops of around, what was it, 2.5 to 3 seconds. So we were wondering how that advantage got pretty much clawed back so easily.
Mario was just quicker today. It's as simple as that. I wasn't fuel saving or anything. I was just trying to manage it. And it would have been fine had I not messed up the hairpin on the last lap, but yeah.
Well, there you go. That was Tom Katsadonis, who finished this race in third. Unfortunately, not enough for him to win the championship with that result, but heads through to the international finals. Well done to those three, along with Liam Reston. They will head to your international finals later on. Reese, did you enjoy those 3 weeks?
Absolutely, I did. Fantastic series put together by Motorsport Australia. I certainly hope there's going to be more stuff like this in the future, because we've got some brilliant talent here in Australian sim racing.
So dual champions, how about that? That's the confirmation we've gotten. Mario Vartanian and Benjamin Roberts, dual champions for this one. That's why it was so confusing. A very, very confusing finish, but we love drama. We love some spicy racing action, and I hope you enjoyed this one too. What a 3 weeks it was, and that's it for our powerful Formula 3 machines for those 3 weeks. This was Motorsport Australia's 2022 iRacing Asia Pacific Single-Seater Esports Qualifier Series. We talked about your top 4 of Benjamin Roberts, Mario Vartanian, your 2 dual champions, Tom Katsadonis and Liam Reston. They'll head to the international finals. More news on that, head over to the Motorsport Australia website to keep in the loop. Thanks to everybody as well for enjoying the series. I hope you enjoyed it. Not that I'm forcing you to enjoy it, but I hope you enjoyed the series, and I hope you enjoyed all the coverage the last 3 weeks as well. Jake Kennedy behind the scenes, thanks to you as well. Thanks to the Motorsport Australia team and all the staff, and Jake Burgess as well for his work behind the scenes to make this series a success. Reese Gardner, you've been lovely as always. We're going to say bye to you. I'm Jonathan Simon. Hope you enjoyed all the action over the past 3 weeks, and we're going to say so long for the final time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up the wall.
Oh my god! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive!
This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?